It's finally time. This video is going to cover everything you need to know for the fall 2026 intake if you are a prospective student trying to apply for an undergraduate degree in the US. We're going to talk about timelines, application process, what documents you need, every single thing. So sit back, grab some popcorn or a notepad or an iPad and get ready to take some notes. And remember, each detail is super important, so don't skip through the video. For those of you that are new to the channel, I've done my research at Harvard Medical School, I've done my master's at Cornell University, and I've basically had the pleasure of studying at 2 Ivy League colleges. Now, through my experience, I help thousands of students each year, both domestic as well as international, get into their dream university with some strategies and tips as well as their own hard work so they can highlight what they've done and maximize this whole process during this stressful time when they have to apply to colleges. Now remember, as we go along this video, if there are certain things or topics that you don't understand or have questions, just put those in the comments below. I'm pretty active in the comments in helping students make sure that you get your doubts cleared, so drop a comment. And before we begin, one thing I'd like to point out is I will not be covering scholarships, CSS profile, FAFSA, or any of that stuff because honestly I feel like that deserves a video on its own. So maybe if we can get this video to like 1,000 likes, I'll create a dedicated video where I go over the entire scholarship and financial aid process for you guys. Let's start out with the two intakes that exist. There's the fall intake and the spring intake. The fall is the more common intake. There are more scholarships available. Every single university in the US offers admission in the fall intake. And needless to say, there are more spots open, so the acceptance rate is slightly higher. And lastly, as the name suggests, fall means August. You will basically start your college in August. The next intake, which is the spring intake, is the less common intake. Fewer universities offer this intake. None of the Ivy League colleges, the 8 colleges that everybody wants to get into, they do not offer any spring intakes. They're only open for the fall intake. Now, needless to say, because you have a handful of universities offering the spring intake, the number of spots are less, there are less number of scholarships that are offered, and this session usually starts in January or February. Now, for the purpose of this video, we're gonna restrict ourselves to the fall intake because it is kind of like the clear winner with more options for you guys as students, more chances of scholarships, better chances to get accepted into the top universities. So let's talk about the timeline. Now, the fall intake usually opens in August and the applications close in December. Now, I know what you're thinking. I just said that you'll start your college in August, and I'm saying applications open in August. So, hear this. Applications open exactly 1 year before you actually start college. So let's say that you want to start college next year, which is 2026 fall. The applications for the fall 2026 intake will open this year in 2025 August. Now, this is true each year for every single fall intake. A lot of students forget that applications open a year in advance and they then scramble a few months before the actual intake opens to find out which colleges to apply. So if you're watching this video today, you're already ahead of all of those students in making sure that you're preparing well in advance. Now, one of the most common questions I get asked for those that are not familiar with the admission cycle here in the US is, if I need to start college next year, I'm still in class 12. I don't have my class 12 results. I haven't finished my examinations. In fact, I've just started class 12. So 1 year ahead of time, how will I submit those mark sheets and those assignments or all of those scorecards? And the process is very simple. The colleges have something called predicted mark sheet where they ask for relevant documentation knowing that you're still a class 12 student. They don't expect you to have finished class 12. Everyone understands that you are still in class 12, which is the last year of high school. You will still be able to complete your application. Just remember, you have to be ethical in the whole process. So whatever they're asking you, you have to be truthful about what you're saying. For example, if you predict that you're going to get like a 95 score and you get maybe a 90 in the actual board exams, that's fine. However, if you predict you're going to get 95 and end up failing or end up getting 60 or 65 or 70% sort of a grade range, there's a good chance that colleges that have probably accepted you later on may retract their offer letter because you were not truthful about what grades or predicted grades you were going to get. Now, we'll get more into detail later, but for now, the important thing to know is that it's okay that you're still a Class 12 student, you haven't finished Class 12, you can still start the application process. Let's talk about preparation and planning. It's very easy to get sucked into that whole zorb of applying to all of the shiny and prestigious universities like the 8 Ivy Leagues, and then you can't forget about MIT and Stanford and Caltech, and the list goes on, and before you know it, you have 20 universities in your list which are the best in the world, and you're spending thousands of dollars without creating a realistic college list. I know everybody wants to get into the best college, but a realistic way to plan is divide your entire process into 3 categories. So we're going to go through a 3-step process that you can take in order to create your college list. Number 1 is identify what major you want to study and what your priorities are. For example, the major could be computer science or mechanical engineering, and the priorities could be location or prestige or scholarships. You need to have your priorities in what order they matter. This is very important for step 1. Step 2, do your research online and make a list of universities that match both your desired major that you want to study and your priorities. 2 good sources that I personally would recommend when doing your research for colleges includes the US World College Report and Niche. Both of them provide a good insight into colleges, what they're good at, what they're known for. Plus, going through the college website itself, you can get a very good idea. Step 3 is dividing your list into different categories. You're going to do 3 categories. There's a dream university category, a within reach category, and a safety category. It's important to balance out the number of colleges that you try to aim for. Typically, I would recommend you create a college list anywhere between 10 to 20 colleges and divide them into these 3 categories. 10 to 20 is not too many, not too little. It's a moderate amount. Now, making sure you divide them into 3 categories also makes sure that you're not aiming for all of the best universities out there, and you're being more realistic about your approach to the college list. Now with that, we come to your documents list. The first set of documents you need are your transcripts from class 9 to 11, which is considered all of high school. Now for class 12, it's slightly different. Because they consider that most of the students applying will be in class 12, you can submit a mid-year report plus a predicted mark sheet, these 2 documents. Now how does a mid-year report work? Typically, applications are due anywhere between October to December. Even though applications open in August, they're due somewhere between October to December. By the time they're due, you would have taken some sort of a class test, a cycle test, a unit test, mid-year test. Whatever those actual test scores were, that is what you're expected to submit. In addition to that, they ask you for the predicted mark sheet of your final overall 12th grades. That is hypothetical. So that is something you have to guess to the closest of your ability, get signed off from your school. It could be a principal or class teacher on the school letterhead, and then they upload it on your behalf. Now, if you're applying as a gap year student, which means you've already completed class 12, the process for you is simple. You just have to upload your final class 12 mark sheet. No mid-year report, no predicted mark sheet. The next one is standardized testing. Now, standardized testing has become optional in most cases, but if you've written the SAT or ACT, you need to attach those grades as well. Now, for international students, you may also be required to provide English proficiency tests, so something like TOEFL, IELTS, or Duolingo. All of that goes into your applications too. The next set of documents are your essays. Now, this one takes the most amount of time to work on. There are 2 sets of essays you need to know about. Your personal essay, which is a 650-word essay about something about your personality, life, non-academic, basically. It's a common essay that gets submitted to each of the universities that you submit your application to. The next set of essays are supplemental essays. These are shorter essays, somewhere between 150 to 300 words, and they are college-specific. Some colleges may have 0 supplemental essays. Other colleges may have 5 or 7 supplemental essays. It just depends on what the college is asking for. And the last one on our document list are letters of recommendation. Now, typically, colleges ask for anywhere between 1 to 3 letters of recommendation. If they've asked for 2, my suggestion would be get one from your English teacher and one from a teacher whose field that you're applying to matches closely. So, for example, if you're applying to computer science, get a letter of recommendation from your computer science teacher. If you're applying for a biomedical or mechanical engineering degree, getting a letter from your physics teacher or your biology teacher might be a good idea. So something that's close enough. What you don't want to do is, if you're applying for like an engineering-based program, don't get a letter from your arts teacher. So just remember who you're asking. There needs to be some amount of relevance so that they can actually talk to your abilities on how you are as a student as well as your aptitude. Now, there are 4 optional documents that you can also use to help you stand out. I've categorized them towards the very end because they're optional. So if you don't want to do or use any of these, you can just bypass and move on to the next step. The first one we've gone over is the SAT and ACT scores. While this is not mandatory, a lot of colleges use these scores as a way to differentiate smart students from not so smart students, or driven students from lazy students. You get the point. The next one is AP exams. Now, these are advanced placement exams that also differentiate extremely intelligent students from those that are maybe along the same caliber. SAT scores, ACT, or AP exams are a very important differentiator when 2 students that are spot on, very similar to one another, arrive. These testing scores will be used to make that decision on who they would rather accept. The next one is a resume or portfolio. Some universities like Princeton request for this one, so it's good to have a backup ready. The last one on our list is the activities section. The whole activities section, the whole thing, not even one, is mandatory. So if you want, you could basically just skip the whole section and submit your application. There's nothing stopping you. But my recommendation is to submit at least 5 to 7 activities. You have spaces for up to 10 activities that you can fill out. Like I said, since all of them are optional, you're free to do 0 or 3 or 5 or 10. Now pick the top one of your activities. Remember, quality, not quantity, and submit those. Let's talk about deadlines and the application timeline. There are 3 deadlines you need to be aware of: early decision, early action, regular decision. Early decision and early action deadlines happen around the same time, which is end of October or beginning of November. The regular decision usually happens end of December or beginning of January. The biggest difference between these 2 deadlines is the time itself. Students that typically submit their application earlier do have a better chance of getting in for a few reasons. Imagine that a university has 1,000 spots open. The person who applies earlier has a greater probability of getting into those 1,000 spots because it's that one student competing for that 1,000 spots. If the same student applied for the regular application deadline, the student may be competing for like 750 spots because maybe 250 got filled up in the early application cycle. Think of it that way. That's number 1. The second thing is, high school students are lazy. I don't care what you guys say, but it's true. So a lot of students, even though they want to apply to those early deadlines, are just not ready to submit their applications because they're lazy and they know that there's another deadline coming up. Because of that reason, the competition is so low. Not a lot of students submit for the early action or early decision deadline. So if you can be someone who can be proactive about this process, put your best foot forward and submit a good application for the early deadlines, I would highly recommend it. Now, if you're someone who's planning to submit for the early decision or early action deadline, let me give you a whole roadmap of when you should be doing what. Your college list is something you should be working on from now till the end of June. Start on your personal essay, again, from now, get it completed by August. Supplemental essays, aim to finish by September. Your SAT or TOEFL should be done already, if not August or September at the latest. LORs and other school documents can be done in September as well. Get your application reviewed by friends, family, a counselor in October, and then you submit your application in the beginning of November. Now, the CSS profile or other financial aid documents could also have that same submission timeline, but we'll talk about that in a different video. Now, this entire college application process is extremely overwhelming and complicated, and it sucks that you have to get it right on your first try. You get one shot at this, and if you mess up, you either have to end up accepting or taking admission into a lower grade university or take a gap year, miss out on a whole year of school. None of these options sound great, so it's best that you put your best foot forward. The 2 programs that I would suggest for anyone who's trying to look for help include the Road to Success Mentorship and the Ivy League 101 course. Now, the Road to Success Mentorship is a one-on-one program where a group of just 5 to 7 students work directly with me in order to submit your applications. It's a 1-month-long program where we do everything: shortlisting universities, working on your college application, getting it reviewed, scholarship application, essay writing, activities workshop, resume building. Everything that I mentioned in this video, even the optional stuff, is worked on during that 1 month. There are live sessions, offline reviews, nothing is recorded, and you're working in a group of similar, like-minded students. This program has had a tremendous success in the past, with students getting into top universities like University of Notre Dame with 100% scholarship, UCSD, many universities in California, New York, Boston, into their dream colleges. So if you're interested in this, the waitlist is going to be in the description below. It's not open yet, and it is super fast and rigorous because only a handful of students, less than 10 students, get accepted into the program each year. You have to stand out. So if you're interested, check out the description below. The other program I would suggest for you guys is the Ivy League 101, which is a self-paced course that you can basically get everything in one place. So you have your student dashboard and a place where everything is organized. There are recorded videos, there are assignments that you can do, templates you can follow, for everything, activities, your essays, whatever you can think about. And that way you have a checklist to make sure you're not forgetting anything. The best part is the waitlist for the Ivy League 101 course is also open for the fall 2026 intake. So the link for that is also going to be in the description below. Check it out. Now, if you're watching till this point, I want to know from you guys, are you applying for the fall 26 intake, and what degree major type are you trying to apply for? I want to see all of these wonderful creative degrees that students are aiming for, and what part of the world are you watching from? So drop your country as well as what stream or major you're trying to apply for in the comments below. Like the video if you're watching till this point, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.